My Weirdest School, Book number 9. Miss Tracy is Spacey. Written by Dan Gutman. Pictures by Jim Pelot. Chapter 7. It's Not Fair. The next morning at school, Mr. Cooper came flying into the classroom. And I do mean flying. Mr. Cooper thinks he's a superhero, but he's not a very good one because he bumped into Ryan's desk, chipped over the garbage can, and fell on the floor. "I'm okay," he said, jumping to his feet. "Everybody open your math book to page 23. I hate math. I was about to open my math book, but I never got the chance. You'll never believe who poked her head into the door at that moment." "Nobody. Why would anybody want to poke their head into a door? You should know that by now. You really need to work on your reading comprehension." "But you'll never believe who poked her head into the doorway. It was Miss Tracy. She was holding a bunch of big circles made out of cardboard. "It is I," she announced. "Miss Universe." "Not again," Mr. Cooper grumbled, closing his math book. "We need to work on our astronomy play," Miss Tracy said. "Oh yeah, the play. We had to put on a play for the whole school to cap off Space Week. The parents were invited to come and everything. I thought it would be fun to take the school on a tour of the solar system," Miss Tracy told us. "One of the second grade classes made these beautiful planets. Each of you can be a different planet." "Ooh!" I shouted. "I have dibs on planet Earth." "Huh!" In Andrea's face. I beat her to it for once. So na boo boo on Andrea. "I like your enthusiasm, AJ," said Miss Tracy. "But I don't think we need any of you to be planet Earth. Kids already know a lot about our planet. But who wants to be Saturn? It's such a beautiful planet with those pretty rings around it." "I'll be Saturn," said Andrea, jumping out of her seat. "My mom is always saying that I'm beautiful." "Okay, Andrea, you can be Saturn," said Miss Tracy, handing Andrea one of the big cardboard circles. "How come she gets to be Saturn?" I shouted. "It's not fair." "I'm sorry, AJ," Miss Tracy told me. "Andrea asked first. Let me see here. The rings of Saturn need to be attached. AJ, will you please come up here and give Andrea the rings?" "Ooh," Ryan said. "AJ is going to give Andrea a ring. They must be in love." "It's a wedding ring," shouted Michael. "If those guys weren't my best friends, I would hate them." I gave Andrea the rings of Saturn, complaining the whole time that it wasn't fair. Mr. Cooper had been sitting in the back of the room, but he got up and came to the front. "I'd like to make a suggestion," Mr. Cooper said. "Instead of having the kids fight over which planet they get to be, maybe we should put all their names in a box and pick them randomly. That would make it fair to everyone." That's a good idea, said Miss Tracy. Does everybody agree that would be fair? Yes, we all said. Mr. Cooper found a cardboard box and put in slips of paper with all our names on them. Then he mixed the names up and handed the box to Miss Tracy. Let's start with Mercury, the planet that is closest to the sun, she said, reaching into the box and pulling out a name. Emily will be Mercury. Yay! Shouted Emily. Next will be Venus, said Miss Tracy as she reached into the box. Venus was named after the Roman goddess of love, and she will be Alexia. Yay! Shouted Alexia. Miss Tracy said the L word. I'm glad she didn't pick me to be Venus. The guys would make fun of me for the rest of my life. Next comes Mars, which was named after the Roman god of war, said Miss Tracy. Mars will be played by Michael. Booyah! Shouted Michael. Mars kicks butt. Bummer in the summer. I was hoping that I would be Mars. The next planet is the biggest planet, Jupiter, said Miss Tracy. Jupiter will be Ryan. Yay! Shouted Ryan. I'm the biggest, so that means I'm number 1. I know a poem about Jupiter, said Andrea, raising her hand. I'd love to hear it, said Miss Tracy. Girls go to college to get more knowledge, recited Andrea. Boys go to Jupiter to get more stupider. All the girls laughed, even though Andrea didn't say anything funny. Miss Tracy went to pick the next name out of the box. Next comes Saturn, she said, and the student who gets Saturn will be, yes, it's Andrea again. Yay! Shouted Andrea. She always gets what she wants. It's not fair. Only 2 planets are left, said Miss Tracy as she reached into the box. Neptune is the coldest planet, and it will be played by Neil. Yay! Shouted Neil. I'm the coldest, so that means I'm number 1. Okay, said Miss Tracy. I have 1 student left and 1 planet left. Last but not least, AJ will be Uranus. What? Everybody started giggling and elbowing and smirking. Oh, snap, said Ryan. AJ is Uranus. But I don't want to be Uranus, I shouted. It's not fair. Sure it's fair, AJ, said Mr. Cooper. Miss Tracy picked the names randomly. Uranus is a wonderful planet, AJ, Miss Tracy told me. It has 27 known moons. Hey, AJ, said Michael. I think you should pull your pants down in the middle of the play to show everybody the moons of Uranus. Everybody laughed, even though Michael didn't say anything funny. I don't want to be Uranus, I shouted again. Well, somebody has to be Uranus, said Miss Tracy. We can't have a tour of the solar system without Uranus. Does anybody want to switch planets with me? I asked the class. No, everybody replied. Hey, Arlo, said Andrea. Maybe you can sing a little song about Uranus. Then she started singing that song she always sings from Annie. but instead of singing the word tomorrow, she sang Uranus. No, I shouted. I'm not singing a song about Uranus. What about Pluto? Why can't I be Pluto? Pluto isn't a planet, said Miss Tracy. What? My mother told me that Pluto was a planet, I said. Pluto was a planet, Miss Tracy replied, but it's not a planet anymore. Says who? What happened to Pluto? How can something be a planet one day and then the next day it's not a planet anymore? I wanted to run away to Antarctica and go live with the penguins. Penguins don't have to put on dumb plays and force one of them to be Uranus. Everybody was laughing at me. The guys would be making fun of me forever. This was the worst day of my life. It's not fair. Chapter 8. A tour of the solar system. Space Week was almost over. The whole school had been involved. Some of the classes made arts and crafts projects about the solar system. Some wrote poems. The 5th graders got to go on a field trip to a planetarium. My dad dropped me off at school on his way to work. When we pulled into the drop-off line, there was a sign on the front lawn. Come see Miss Universe today. Are you going to see our class play? I asked him. It's right after the morning announcements. Sorry, AJ, my dad replied. I have to get to work, but Mom will be there for sure. After the morning announcements, we walked 1,100,000 miles to the all-purpose room. I don't know why they call it the all-purpose room. You can't go kayaking in there. Anyway, everybody from kindergarten up to 5th grade was in the all-purpose room. There was a special section for parents in the back, and it was filled with moms. There were no dads at all. Everybody was buzzing, but not really, because we're people and not bees. Mr. Klutz climbed up on the stage and made a peace sign with his fingers, which means shut up. Welcome, everyone, announced Mr. Klutz. Blah, 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 blah. Space Week has been amazing. Blah, 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 blah. We learned a lot about astronomy, blah, 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 blah. And we couldn't have done it without Miss Tracy, or as we like to call her, Miss Universe. Miss Tracy climbed up on the stage, and everybody gave her a round of applause. That's when you clap your hands in a big circle. Thank you, Miss Tracy said, taking a bow. I've had a wonderful time with the students of elementary school. Blah, 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 blah. It would take a very long time to do a real tour of the solar system, but Mr. Cooper's 3rd grade class would like to take you on a simulated tour. We lined up on the stage with our cardboard planets. The lights dimmed. Weird music started playing. Emily stepped forward, and a spotlight shined on her. I am Mercury, Emily said. I'm the smallest planet. My surface is wrinkled, and I have almost no atmosphere. But I have the most craters because I've been hit by lots of asteroids and comets. Everybody gave Emily a round of applause. Then Alexia stepped forward. I am Venus, Alexia said. I'm the hottest planet. It can reach 471 degrees Celsius on me. A day on Venus lasts longer than a year on Venus because I rotate very slowly. Everybody gave Alexia a round of applause as she turned around. Michael stepped forward. "I am Mars," Michael said. "They call me the Red Planet. If you lived on me, you could jump 3 times higher because I have less gravity than Earth, and I have the tallest mountain in the solar system." Michael got a round of applause. Ryan stepped forward. "I am Jupiter," said Ryan. "I'm more than twice as large as all the other planets put together. There's a storm on me that's been going on for 350 years. I wish it would stop already." More applause and a few laughs. Andrea stepped forward. "I am Saturn," Andrea said. "Aren't my rings pretty? They're made of chunks of ice and dust and rock. Oh, and I also have 53 moons." Applause. Neil stepped forward. "I am Neptune," said Neil. "I'm the farthest planet from the sun, almost 3 billion miles away. I'm blue, too, and that's why I was named after the Roman god of the sea." Applause. I stepped forward. "I am Uranus," I said. That's when the giggling started in the all-purpose room. "It's very hard to see Uranus." More giggling. "You can see Uranus with your naked eye, but you can see it a lot better with a telescope." As soon as I said naked, all the guys started giggling. "Uranus is tilted, so it's almost on its side." More giggling. "Most people don't know this, but there are rings around Uranus." Everybody in the audience was giggling. Even some of the parents were laughing at me. That's it. I decided that I had enough. "Hey, knock it off," I shouted. "I didn't want to be Uranus. I wanted to be Saturn. You think I like this? It's not my fault they named the planet Uranus. Laugh all you want. I'm going to keep saying it. Uranus, Uranus, Uranus." Everybody stopped laughing. Nobody said a word. There was total silence in the all-purpose room. You could hear a pin drop in there. Everybody was looking at me. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. I had to think fast. So I did the only thing I could do. I started singing that song Andrea made up. "Uranus, Uranus, I love ya, Uranus," I sang. "You're always a day away." All the kids in my class joined in. The next thing I knew, everybody in the all-purpose room was singing the Uranus song. And when it was done, the audience gave me a standing ovation. Miss Tracy came over to me. She put a crown on my head and a sash around my neck. It said Mr. Universe on it. I thought that was the end of it, but you'll never believe what happened next. "We have a special guest with us today," said Miss Tracy. "I'd like to introduce the real Miss Universe." That's when another lady came out on the stage. She was pretty and smiling. "How about a picture of Miss Universe and Mr. Universe together?" suggested Mr. Klutz. "Sure," said the real Miss Universe. And then she put her arm around me while everybody took pictures. It was the greatest day of my life. "Hey, how come AJ gets to be Mr. Universe?" shouted Ryan. "I want to be Mr. Universe." "It's not fair," said Michael and Neil. Na 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 boo boo on them. Chapter 9. The Ending of the World. Everybody was buzzing about the real Miss Universe, so Mr. Klutz had to make the shut up he sign to make people stop talking. Wasn't Space Week fun? Asked Mr. Klutz. I think we all learned a lot about astronomy. Before we dismiss everyone, does anybody have any questions for Miss Tracy? A bunch of hands went up. Miss Tracy called on one of the fourth graders. How fast does the Earth turn around? Asked a girl. Good question, said Miss Tracy. The Earth spins at about 1,000 miles an hour. What? That's way faster than the speed limit. I'm scared, said Emily. I think I feel dizzy. Oh no, not again. Don't worry, said Miss Tracy. The Earth will gradually slow down when the sun dies out. What? Excuse me, said the real Miss Universe. Did you just say that the sun is going to die out? Yes, of course, Miss Tracy replied. In 5 billion years, the core of the sun will run out of hydrogen and become less bright. Then the Earth and all the planets in the solar system will disintegrate. The sun is going to die? Asked Alexia. What does disintegrate mean? Asked Ryan. Andrea had already looked it up on her smartphone. Disintegrate means to break apart into many small pieces, she shouted. The sun is gonna die, shouted Michael. The Earth is gonna break apart. Miss Tracy said so. Yes, but it won't be for 5 billion years, said Miss Tracy. That's like tomorrow, I shouted. There's nothing to worry about, said Miss Tracy. We'll all be dead, shouted one of the fourth graders. Help! Somebody hollered. The world is going to end. Run for your lives, shouted Neil. We've got to do something, shouted Emily. Everybody started yelling and screaming and shrieking and hooting and hollering. You should have been there. Students, calm down, shouted Mr. Klutz. It was no use. Everybody started running around and bumping into one another, trying to get to the emergency exits. Even the moms and teachers were freaking out. Somebody banged into the real Miss Universe, and she fell off the stage. Well, that's pretty much what happened during Space Week. Maybe the real Miss Universe will come back when our dads are there. Maybe we'll get to page 23 in our math books. Maybe Mr. Granite will lose his car keys again. Maybe Emily will demonstrate the law of gravity again by throwing up. Maybe Isaac Newton will eat some fig Newtons. Maybe Mr. Cooper will throw Miss Tracy out the window. Maybe Andrea will start to like violins. Maybe I'll find out what a dipper is. Maybe Pluto will become a planet again. Maybe we'll figure out a way to stop the sun from dying and the Earth from breaking apart. But it won't be easy.